Hi, welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil, and I practice every day and share my tips so we can all get better at the casino. We're still working on our Dice Action Fix series on what happens when the dice land and go in different directions so you can recognize what that issue is and be able to fix it either at the casino or when you're home and you want to realize what's going wrong. So today we're talking about splitting, how those dice land. If they land apart and go all over this way, or they land apart and go this way, how are they, if it's a random, they're landing at the same time, which is good, but they're not landing together like you'd like. You'd like them to land perfectly like this, up and back. We're talking about if they land together, but the action of the dice after it is crazy. So what's causing that and how do we fix it? First, an update. We're getting closer and closer to the casino. 90 days to Vegas. We're 67 days in. This is my 67th day before, and so we only have a month or so. 20-something days left till we go to the casino. So I just wanted to say, this is our book that I keep track of our rolls every Sunday we play, the four of us, our craps crew, and I've been doing this for years and years, and we play on Zoom and have a great time. Every Sunday we play, and I just wanted to let you know, since I've been practicing every day and making these videos, my last 3 sessions with the boys, I threw 9. We usually get 2 throws in per team, maybe 3 if we're lucky. The first one that I did 3 weeks ago, I threw 9 times and 10 times. Not a great throw. Wasn't too happy with that. But what I was impressed with is my other 2 buddies threw 31 and 28 times. So it's proving that they're practicing a little bit more, and it's coming through in gangbusters when it comes to money. Then a few weeks ago, I threw 2 37 throws, which I made an all tall, small, and a tall on each of those, which I was very happy with. And one of my buddies threw 26 on that series, and another threw 37 also. So as we're getting closer to Vegas, my craps crew's taking this very seriously, and they're starting to practicing more and more each day, and we're starting to see some better numbers. Just last weekend, I threw a 6, so I'm going to throw 6 times. That didn't do well. Then I threw back-to-back 30 throws. And one of my buddies threw a 23 throw. So I'm very happy with the success, that we're having with practicing. And to be honest with you, that makes me very happy that we are seeing some results from dedicated practice and deliberate practice. Remember our deliberate practice video, if you go back to that, on not just having fun, but actually trying to work on issues and correct them and be able to work on them. So that's what's perfect. What we're talking about today is when those dice fly off the handle, what's causing that and what can we do to fix it? Very important that you see if the dice do something wacky, what's causing that issue. So if they're landing like this and they just spread, they went apart, they came together, what's causing that? Well, if you've been watching some earlier videos about the arc, the air, if you watch the videos about the landing, we're not changing up. We're going to discuss this. So hopefully when you're having a problem and you only want to see, hey, what happens when the dice do wacky things like that, this is the video for you. But I'm going to repeat what we're talking about over and over again is when they do some random stuff and they're going left and right and apart, and It's because the dice are not landing together. And what's causing that? Well, it's pressure, and it's the landing pressure. So if your dice, if your fingers, your ledge that you're creating on the 3-finger dice are not having even pressure among the 3, the dice are going to do some wacky things. So if this finger was up, say it released early, and I don't even have a finger on here and I throw it, the dice spread. That's because if you see them spread apart, those dice are not landing at the same spot. There's one dice that's either spinning a little too much, that's going up higher, and it's all based on pressure of your fingers. So we talked a lot about this. I'm just going to sum it up here again, because you're probably turning into this video, hopefully, in the future, and it's like, hey, my dice are landing apart, and they're spreading all over the place. What's causing it? It's this pressure, okay? It's either you're not even pressure. It may not be that your fingers are raised. It may be that the pressure is just greater on the one side and not the other. It could be your thumb. It could be your thumb pressure is way more on one side and the other. I know this is exaggerated, it's big, but it really the pressure needs to be directly in the middle of this. And if your pressure is too high among your pincer, your middle finger and thumb, and not on this side, that's going to cause them to split this way. And if your fingers, your fingers are too big, I got to do this on this little one. If your fingers are putting pressure on the outside of the dice and not in the middle, look at how they split. So if your dice are splitting because they're not landing together and they're spreading apart, or they're one in front, the deal is the pressure of the fingers. And how do you correct that? So if you see some crazy dice flying all over the place, the correction is get back to your ledge. Get back to the even pressure. And I told this before, a little wiggle of your pressure may help. So you pick up the dice and you're here, right? You're relaxing your arm, you're relaxing your wrist, your thumb and your middle finger pressure is even with the index and the ring finger. And I just do a little wiggle. If I'm feeling that the pressure is not there, I just wiggle this a little bit. The wiggle makes sure that, one, I'm feeling the dice are not separate. That's one thing. And two, I'm feeling that the fingers are having even distribution, right? I'm not feeling it on one side or the other. The other issue too, on the pickup, with the way I pick it up, I make sure that those dice are snapped together. But some people use the 3-finger grip and they just pick it up like this. And if there's a little separation, you can feel that just by when you get to your ledge, you wiggle. If you wiggle, sometimes that separation tightens. Other times you feel it, just put it down, start over. Come back again to the pickup and making sure they're tight together. If they're a little bit separate, when you throw, that's going to be your results. They're going to separate. They're not going to go in the same direction. So when you're seeing dice that are not flying together or landing together and they're spinning off in different directions, it's all based on pressure of your fingers. That millisecond pressure that you put on those dice. That's why dice control can be very complicated or very easy, all depending on how you look at it. If you can recognize that these dice landed together and sat nice, then you know, okay, that was a good throw. If you start seeing them go off, one's off in one direction, one's off in another, they're tumbling too far back, that's because the pressure right here, these little 3 fingers and this thumb, was unnecessarily put in unevenness. And why do I say that? Because if you're practicing every day and you're working on the turn, when you pick that dice up and you turn and you set those dice down every day, you should be able to feel if those dice are off. You should have a direct line down on them. And then on the release, they should be able to leave your hands at the exact same time, and they should do the same thing. If they're not doing the same thing, recognize that there's a pressure problem. And if you're at the casino, get back to basics. If you're practicing every day, mark it down and work on that the next day so that when your turn practice comes, you're releasing the same way each time. The last thing you can check is if you're doing your finger release every day on your practice, like I do, if those dice don't come out of your fingers the exact same time, then the pressure's not the same. So you need to practice that and make sure that you do a little wiggle just to see. Then when you're releasing the pressure to let those dice go on my finger release practice, they come out together. If one's coming out more than the other, the pressure's not even. It might be your thumb or your finger. So hopefully this helped you understand that when the dice do some wacky things versus just both going to the left or both going to the right, which could be an issue with the way they're landing and moving, if they do different things, then it's basically the pressure of your fingers, and you have to get them aligned so that when they land, they do the exact same thing together. So join me tomorrow when we're going to talk about what happens when you see one bounce way higher than the other or hit the back wall way more than the other does. What's causing that and how can we fix it? So once again, we're talking about dice action, and hopefully this series helps you in the future. And as always, practice, 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 as my craps crew's doing, so that we can throw in Vegas for a long, long time.